and the BOE Center. We have some folks who are here with us, so we want to make sure that they can see those. Second calendar meeting where we are talking about our draft calendars for the 2022 school year. And so we'll begin with the welcome from our committee chairperson, Mr. Bowyer.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you guys again for giving so freely of your time. I know everybody's busy. I know we have a big meeting tonight, but I do want to just take the time to always say thank you. I know I'm excited to get these out. We're behind schedule, forced because of decisions beyond our control, but I know our community is looking forward to hearing exactly when our kids will be in school post-pandemic. So thank you guys. And Dr. Smith, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bowyer. And we are here at the Board of Education Center, and of course, are live streaming. But we do have some folks here, so I want to pause just a second and make sure that the folks we have, you guys are able to hear me speak and hear the audio. All right, great, thank you, wonderful, wonderful. So we're going to continue. I'm just going to review the agenda very briefly. We're going to talk about all the calendars that we are planning to bring forth to the board. And then we're also, prior to that, we're going to talk about the feedback. And I really want to thank folks for taking the time I want to really thank folks for taking the time to share their feedback. It is very valuable to us. I'll say from the very beginning, there's no way to create a perfect calendar, one that's going to serve all needs. But in developing these calendars, we really wanted to think about students first, what students needed, and be responsive to them. And then, of course, critical in this process, our teachers and our administrators, in supporting them with professional development, opportunities to plan. And then we also wanted to be of service to our community. So we have taken into consideration all three of those stakeholder groups, as well as others, you know, in terms of our partnership with our institutes of higher education in the development of these calendars. And again, I really do want to take the time to say to folks, thank you for all the feedback that you provided. So what I'll do is just kind of go through that feedback. I'm not sure if it's included in the packet. Let me scroll through to just make sure. Okay, it's not. So I will just read that to you. And so for the feedback, we heard from our parent group, and there was a question about the number of designated days. And so we do acknowledge that there are more teacher work days than in any other calendar that we've recommended for approval. Part of that is to support teachers in professional development. We believe firmly that in order for our teachers to be able to deliver the best instruction, we have to make time for them to improve their craft. We have to give them the time to engage in professional development. And what we've done for such a long time is to use a model that either pulls the teacher out of the classroom during the day, or we ask a teacher to teach all day long, and then on top of that, give 2 additional hours of professional development in the afternoon. And so what this calendar allows us to do is to really move away from that. There was a comment about the number of days that were undesignated. Though they're undesignated in the district calendar, they can be designated by the building level principal. So even though there are a number of undesignated days, that's done intentionally to give principals flexibility to designate those days as they see fit. There was a positive comment about the location of Easter. And I'm just reading through because I don't want to miss any of this. Um, comment that the calendar in and of itself looked amazing. And I think part of that is that one feature of this calendar that I'll point out, and right now I'm spending a lot more time talking about the traditional calendar, is that we end the semester prior to going home for the winter break. But understanding that there's give and take in that, and the give and take in that is that one semester is longer than the other. And there is a comment about that, especially on the secondary side, where the first semester does not have as many instructional days as the second semester. We could increase the number of instructional days by 2 by adding December 20th and December 21st as student days. So we do have the flexibility of increasing the number of instructional days by 2. But other than that, there really is not a lot of flexibility in this calendar. For those who don't know, the start date of the calendar, for the most part, is legislated. And so we can't start our school year any earlier than we have in this current calendar. I've already spoken about the undesignated work days. Again, a positive comment about the location of spring break. And then there was a comment about the beginning teachers being able to have the opportunity for training. And again, we've designated a significant number of work days at the beginning of year to support that training. We also have some additional work days at the beginning of the semester. And then we do have a few work days at the end of the semester. Unfortunately, if we want to end the semester before the December break, and we want to end the year before Memorial Day, then it does limit the number of work days that we can embed within the calendar. So that is really a give and take. And then also as a reminder, we actually did reduce the number of student days in the second semester when we split the spring break and the Easter holiday. So we did, again, lose one additional student day because we wanted to maintain Easter Monday as a teacher work day. So the Easter Monday is a teacher work day. It's an optional teacher work day. So it's a non-student day. We know that a lot of our families travel during this time. And so we wanted to maintain that. And so we lost a student day there. And I think also for folks who are not as familiar as others, some of us have been doing calendar for a long time, but we are not adhering to calendar law in terms of the number of days. We are adhering to calendar law in the number of hours that must be provided in terms of instructional hours. And so our focus is on exceeding the 1,025 required instructional hours, so that if we find ourselves in a situation of inclement weather, we're not obligated as a district to make up those days. And that was another comment. One comment was, if we could identify where our inclement weather days would be located in the calendar, and with the calendar as it's designed, because we have elongated our school days, we've added 10 minutes to our elementary day and 10 minutes to our middle school day and 10 minutes to our high school day. At this point, if we miss anywhere up to 5 days, then we still are in compliance with the number of instructional hours that are required. Now, and I don't want to say it out loud, but I know everybody knows what I'm thinking. If we have another event like one we had a few years ago, and I'm not going to call it by name, then that far exceeds the number of hours that we have banked. But we haven't identified makeup days, because with the number of hours banked right now, we would not be obligated by calendar law to make up those days. Additional comment was a request from high school counselors about storing grades in December. And I definitely understand the challenges around that. But I think that is going to be more of an internal conversation with our secondary folks, because with them, um, to store those grades prior to leaving for the winter break makes it really challenging to use these days in January to support students who may need some additional time. And so whichever way our high school principals want to go in terms of that, and I'd love to hear from all of them at some point, then we can do that. But right now, that does not impact our calendar, but because it was given as feedback, I did want to share it. And again, a lot of praises for ending the semester before we go home for the winter break. And then the question about spreading out the teacher work days in August. And as I shared before, the challenge is if we want to hold on to ending the semester before we go home for the winter break, then we're not able to spread these days out. And that is because we can't start any earlier than this particular day. If we could start earlier than August 23rd, then we could spread those days out. So there are definitely limitations in the calendar, but hopefully the positives outweigh the negatives. And then there was a concern about the half day. There not being a half day for teachers to essentially, I guess, process their grades. And we talked about that quite a bit last time. We as a district have had half days historically. We moved away from them for the most part, except in our year-round schools, because of the lack of value add to the quality of instruction for students. So with half days and the requirements to provide meals to our students, when you're dismissing elementary schools by 11:30 and high schools by 1 o'clock, then it's challenging to do anything other than offer them meals in very reduced instructional periods. So we've eliminated all of those half days out of the calendar. Our goal will be to work with teachers and work with schools to support them in achieving what they would have otherwise wanted to achieve on those half days. And then there was information specifically about the needs of BTs, beginning teachers, and building in that critical time. And again, we're going to work with our schools to make sure that we're supporting our beginning teachers. We value them, we need them, we want to support them. And so again, building out a calendar that gives them quite a bit of opportunity for professional development at the beginning of the year, another opportunity for professional development at the beginning of the new semester, and then the opportunity for professional development as at the end of the year, or even just reflection, I think does that. But where we can support them even greater, we want to do that as well. But again, we did give up an additional student day in April so that we could accomplish having Easter Monday as a teacher work day. And so for me, from an instructional perspective, I would really be hesitant to give up any additional time. Because again, the time that we give up comes from that bank time, and makes it much more likely that if we were to have inclement weather, that we would have to institute makeup days. And I know that's hard on families that have built out schedules for themselves. And then again, I think I've already spoken to this, was the unbalanced semesters. And again, you know, there's a lot that we can do with this calendar, but if it's important for us to end before the winter break, and it's important for us to end before Memorial Day, then there really is not a way, unless there is some calendar flexibility provided to us, for us to balance the semesters any more so than they are. So I've said a lot. I was wanting to make sure that we shared the comments that were provided. And so at this time, I'd love to open the floor for any additional comments that weren't shared by way of email. Okay, I know there are 26 people in the room.
I think there's a lot of benefit to what we see in this calendar, and I think you've spoken to a lot of the concerns that people had. I wrote this in the email of, from me interviewing elementary, middle, and high school teachers and what they anticipate. I feel bad that you've received such negative feedback about these early release days, because that has not been my experience, and that's not been the experience of many teachers. That's been some of the most innovative days in my classroom have been on those early release days, and some of the best professional development I've been a part of have been those afternoons. So if that's at all a possibility to build in, particularly at that change of the quarter, for our beginning teachers, particularly as I've articulated in the last meeting, I think that's such a critical point for them to be able to collaborate with their mentor and, start the next quarter on the best foot.
Thank you. All right, additional feedback?
Hi, Dr. Smith. This is Bernice Johnson with New Hanover County PTA. Just could you speak to the reasoning? I had a comment. What was the reasoning for splitting spring break from Easter?
Well, yes, but I don't want to pass the ball too much. That suggestion came specifically from our last meeting. So if that principal is here and if he would like to speak to it, I'm sure he could do it much better than I, then I'll give him the floor. And if not, then I'm happy to do so.
Sure, I definitely will, Dr. Smith. I appreciate that. One of the concerns that we had as principals with the year ending now, at the end of April, or excuse me, at the end of May, and testing prior to that taking about 2 weeks of time. If you look at that calendar, if we were to come back from spring break on April 18th, you really would only have a couple of weeks of instruction left before you would begin that testing period. And from the teacher perspective as well, it's a long period from the start of January to the middle of April. And I think by moving that up a little bit into March, we would save some energy for our students and staff to come back after spring break and have, for the most part, all of April and a little bit of May for instruction, as well as review before those end of grade tests. So just with it being so late in the year next year, Easter, it was my suggestion to move that up. I'm happy that we can still obviously have Good Friday and also Easter Monday on the calendar for travel reasons for students and staff.
Thank you. And as I read back over the comment, it appears it came from a teacher having concerns about traveling back and that work day being on that Monday.
Yes, there really is not another option there because we are limited by the state in the number of vacation days or annual leave days. And then we're also limited in the number of holidays. So for us to make it a non-student day and an optional teacher work day was the only way to go with that, so that children wouldn't have to report that particular day. We do recognize that staff, and typically our newer staff who don't have annual leave days banked, they will have to work that day. They will have to work. But again, the disclaimer is this calendar is not perfect, but I do believe that it is much better and more responsive to the needs of our students and the needs of our staff than any other calendar that we've brought forth. Any other comments? I want to make sure that we give time and space for people's voice with this. Okay, if not, then what I'd love to do is to go through the calendars, and because they're very specific and unique to different groups, love to give our year-round folks the opportunity to talk about the changes that they recommended and that we now see in the calendar, and then our early colleges, and then our pre-K programs. So for year-round, if we have a representative there that would like to talk just briefly about their calendar.
I do. Thank you, Dr. Smith. We did change our spring break to coincide with the traditional calendar, so we moved that up. That was already a part of our 3-week break. So for us, it honestly didn't matter. However, we did keep it as intercession. If you can see that, Dr. Smith, I did speak to Cherry, and even though it's still considered we decided that our parents were already off and we would just keep it that way because they know that they're already off, so it didn't confuse them. Mm-hmm. The 12-month people have the option to work or not work. So obviously for my people, they may decide to take that time off because they may have a student who's in a traditional school, but they probably will go ahead and work then when it has vacation day. Either way, for us, we have to put in vacation one way or the other, except of course on the 15th, which is a holiday, which we all get off because of, the Good Friday holiday. There were really no other comments. I can tell you from talking to people this year that they're very happy to go back to our traditional 3 weeks off. So I would like to thank you, Mr. Boyer, and the board for allowing us to have this year to go ahead and be on the modified year-round calendar, knowing the fact that this was just a year, and that we would continue with our normal 3-week year-round calendar after this past year. And I'm finding that that is what our families want to do. So thank you for that flexibility and working with the year-round schools.
Well, and I appreciate you taking the time to survey your families and being such a strong advocate for your children and teachers at your school and your community. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Dr. Smith.
You're welcome. Next up, we have our pre-K calendar. And if we have a representative from early childhood.
Yes, Dr. Smith, Shannon Smiles, and Jordan. If you want to go first, Jordan.
So overall, as a pre-K unit, we were very, very happy with the calendar. We really like the alignment that's there with the elementary calendar. And we also appreciate those same breaks, ending the semester before Christmas and then starting over again in January. We also appreciate the days that you have designated there for us to do our home visits, as those are really critical for our program, that we have those in the very beginning and that none of those were taken away because of circumstances, and hopefully things will be back to more normal. But if we have to get creative, that gives us a little bit of extra time to be able to touch base with all of our families and make those connections. So those were some of the things that we really held valuable. We also looked at that last day towards the end, that was the designated, or the last day and the half day for students in May. At first, we talked through that with our group as well, because traditionally we hadn't had half days in pre-K. And so, but we all felt like just having that one at the end of the day, or the end of the year rather, would not be too bad at all. And again, that aligns with the elementary calendar. And so we know that would probably be a lot, a relief for a lot of families who have multiple children in our district.
Yes. And the other thing about half days is on half days, your children don't attend. So your school year actually ends on the 25th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we decided, Dr. Smith, we talked it out, and we feel like it would be best to end the same day as our siblings and attend that half a day.
Okay,
to not
wonderful.
disrupt our families. We talked it out with Terry Smith as well. So I hate to keep you off guard or put you off guard there, but I feel like Miss S has talked to her team. I reached out to Johnson and our Mosley friends. Unless we hear different, I would like to keep it. I would encourage us to end the same day as the district. That's
Well,
if
and
we're
I
willing to do that.
I think that's a great idea. I think in the past, it's been a decision driven by
Yes.
transportation. So we can clarify that. And if we can do the 26th as a half day for you because it's the last day of school, then we will definitely honor that. And if not, because of transportation reasons, then we'll transition that to the 25th. That is a minor change.
Very good. We appreciate it. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Smith.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And so up next we have, and what we'll do is we'll go to our restart first. I apologize. And so we have representatives from our restart.
Hey, Dr. Smith, this is Rachel Manning. I shared the restart calendar with Dion, Principal at Freeman, and also shared it with my staff. It's so similar to this year's calendar that there was not a whole lot of feedback, or I had none from my teachers. They were only feedback I did receive is they were glad we aligned our spring break with the traditional calendar. Since I do have some teachers here who have kids, some of our middle and high schools and elementary schools and other districts that are on that same kind of calendar. So everyone seemed pleased. I didn't receive any negative feedback.
Thank you very much. And then I'll transition back to our restart for Freeman. And essentially the reason we have this calendar as a separate calendar is because it is for our pre-K students and we have to align that with our restart. So we have our pre-K calendar that aligns with our traditional schools and we have our pre-K calendar that aligns with our restart schools, but it's only applicable to Freeman because Snipes does not have pre-K students which they serve. So then the next calendar is Isac Bear, and so we'll open the floor for Mr. Valance.
Good afternoon, everyone. I was able to share the calendar with the staff, and we had discussions, and it was very positive. We are very happy that we were able to change it and to align spring break with the traditional schools. I was able to entertain conversations about, we're going to be in session, so we're not going to have the opportunity to have those front-loaded professional work days. And so we'll look to work with the district to see if there's professional development we need to attend, orchestrate my schedule here on campus to see if my teachers could attend those professional developments as well. And so we are very excited about our calendar. We did talk about not having Easter Monday, but we were able to work around that, knowing that we are making a push to finish the semester just to align ourselves with UNCW. And so we are very pleased with our calendar. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. And the district will definitely support you and your teachers. This would be an opportunity or example of when we might offer early release for teachers in terms of providing them with the substitute so that we could embed them and have them be a part of that professional development. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, and I'll let them know.
Yes, up next we have our Wilmington Early College and CTEC calendar. So Representative.
Yes, it's Edie Skipper here. As you can see from the red writing at the top, draft one, we were happy from the get-go. I want to give a huge shout out to Cherry for working so hard on that prior to putting it in front of us. That really helped us out a lot this year. So we're all very happy.
Well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate, of course, the efforts of Miss Cherry Smith. How she does it and works her magic, I do not know. But I appreciate, your response time in responding to questions that we might have, and then also the clarity in your communication when it comes to developing a calendar for your students and your staff. So thank you very much. The last sheet is just the worksheet that shows the number of days and how they fall out, and you should have that information that was shared with you. At this time, I'd love any feedback on any of our other calendars or any further discussion. All right, well, folks, I got to tell you, you're making it really, really easy. I want to give time and space for conversation and discussion, and then I'd love to see if we could have a motion from the committee to bring these calendars forth to our board, and we would bring them at our March meeting.
This is Bernice Johnson. I make a motion that we bring the presented calendars to the New Hanover County Board of Education.
All right, so we have a first from Ms. Johnson. Do we have a second?
I'd like to second that motion. This is Mr. Boyer.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer. So we have a second. Any discussion? And so all in favor, please unmute and indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Thumbs up work well. I love that, Ms. Ducharme. Anyone opposed? All right, well, folks, I think we have some calendars. So we will prepare this for presentation to the board. I believe the meeting is on March 2nd. All right, folks, well, thank you so much. I'm so very appreciative and grateful. And I hope everyone has a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Dr. Smith.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.